The Broken Blueprint, Part 1, Battle Creek and Walla Walla. Prescott takes over. In 1883, the college at Battle Creek was reopened under the direction of Elder W. H. Littlejohn, a blind minister with no degrees. He served well for 2 years, but in 1885, the board decided to find someone who had a degree. The position was offered to W. W. Prescott, a graduate of Dartmouth College and an experienced workman who had a print shop and published a magazine. Prescott headed the school for 10 years, 1885 to 1895, and during those years he himself was more thoroughly converted, although he tended to slip away from the spirit of prophecy after the turn of the century. By 1889, with the virtual demise of the work-study program at Battle Creek College, lively students sought other ways for expending their energies. Baseball, football, soccer, and tennis became popular. Soon teams formed and competitive matches were arranged. One football game between American and British students produced unusual excitement. A local press report of the game came to Ellen White's attention in far-off Australia. She was aghast and soon directed a sharp rebuke to President Prescott. A Seventh-day Adventist school was not to be a place for students to perfect themselves in sports, Ellen White wrote. This would be to follow the worldly plan of recreation and amusement and would result in loss every time. Prescott and his faculty saw the danger. Matched games were prohibited. R. W. Squartz, Light Bearers to the Remnant, page 199. During those 10 years, 4 more schools were established. Union College at College View, Nebraska in 1891, Walla Walla College in Washington State in 1892, with E. A. Sutherland as principal, Gradesville Academy, later Southern Missionary College in Tennessee in 1893, and Keene Academy, later Southwestern in Texas in 1894. At the 1893 General Conference session, W. W. Prescott made this jewel of a statement. The basis on which students should be encouraged to earnest work in securing an education is an important matter. You know to what extent it is coming to be a practice in educational institutions in almost every line. The marking, credit/grading system very generally encourages a feeling of rivalry. The basis of the work is thus made to be personal ambition. It is not so much to personal excellence, nor to reach any certain ideal, but to be above a neighbor. Of 2 students with different capacities, one may by much less hard work take the higher rank, and yet his fellow student may do better work and be a better student. The true basis seems to me to be this. Everyone is endowed with certain capabilities and faculties. God has for him a certain ideal which he can reach by the proper use of time and opportunities. God has for him a certain ideal which he can reach by the proper use of time and opportunities. He is not to be satisfied with the fact that he outstrips his neighbor. His effort should be to get what God would have him, and the success is to meet the ideal the Lord has for him in view of his capacity and opportunity. His neighbor, who may have only half the capacity, will reach the same degree of success and will be worthy of the same commendation if he reaches the ideal that God has for him in view of his capacity and his opportunity. The true basis of credit is not by comparing one with another to see if one secures better standing or more prizes than his neighbor. but to compare the actual standing of every student with the ideal which God intends he should gain in view of the capabilities with which he was endowed and the opportunities God's providence has given him. This is a very different basis than simply the idea of personal ambition to excel another. It is very much easier for a teacher to impel one to earnest work by appealing to personal ambition, because it is a trait of human nature easily cultivated. So many teachers, as being the easiest method to get work, as they say, out of students, appeal to them on the basis of their standing as compared with another. But that trait of human nature needs no cultivation. It is the same old self. When the mind of Christ is brought into our plans of education, the purpose will not be to draw out and strengthen elements of self, but it will be, as in all other parts of the work, to empty oneself, to take a humble position, and yet, by that very means, to attain to an exaltation impossible in any other way. W. W. Prescott, 1893, General Conference Bulletin, pages 357 to 358. In that same decade of the 1890s, as noted earlier, a training school was established in South Africa, Solusi in Rhodesia, modern Kenya in 1894, and Ellen White started another one in Australia, Avondale in Korabang in 1897. During those years, she wrote extensively on the blueprint for our schools. One person who studied her writings very carefully was E. A. Sutherland, head of Walla Walla College, who instituted several important reforms. He would later figure prominently in the effort to salvage our educational blueprint. During this time, new academies were starting, and many of our people were studying the educational blueprint. However, some schools, including Union College, held solidly to the old line of liberal arts and degrees.